Hello, and welcome back to Astral Codex's channel. The Corrupted Seven are a series of DragonFable Inn challenges where you fight elemental spirits based on the 7 deadly sins. While the design of the spirits are all very flavorful, the fights themselves are on the easier side, especially if you pick good classes that match up well against each sin. So, we're going to try to beat them with one of the worst classes in DragonFable instead. In this video, we'll be answering the question, can you beat the Corrupted Seven with DragonRogue? Before going through the individual fights, let's talk a bit about DragonRogue. The dragon-based classes were revamped in 2018. While the other two dragon classes offer a noticeable gameplay change from their base variants, DragonRogue is clearly the product of someone looking at Rogue and deciding it was too good. As such, DragonRogue is a downgrade from base Rogue. It does the same thing as base Rogue, but the skills cost real mana. In addition to mediocre damage, Rogue's decent potion heal skill has been nerfed to 29 CD and 100 mana for no good reason. As compensation, DragonRogue was given a passive heal, which, well, I haven't seen evidence it actually exists. First up in the Corrupted Seven, we have Envy. Envy is by far the easiest of the Corrupted Seven. His mechanic is that he has a jealousy counter that increments as he gets hit. His damage increases for each stack of jealousy he has. However, because the damage scaling is slow, any class with decent burst just kills him before the scaling becomes a problem. In fact, many people are on record saying they didn't realize Envy had a mechanic. Here is how DragonRogue does against Envy. Well, we'll need to try something else. It's time to introduce the strategy we'll be relying on for most of this run. To improve our damage, we'll be using 200 Charisma with a magic fighting dragon. Charisma is normally not a very useful stat in DragonFable. Each 10 points of Charisma increases the base damage of pets and guests by 1. Each 50 points of Charisma also decreases the cooldowns of Pet Dragon by 1. Normally, this is less damage than the main stats, as the player has a much higher damage multiplier than pets or guests. However, because DragonRogue's damage is so pathetic, we'll actually do more damage by using 200 Charisma and having our dragon deal most of the damage in each fight. The second part of our strategy is to stack resistances. In DragonFable, for each point of resistance we have to the element, we'll take 1% less damage from that element. Most of the Corrupted Seven only use a single thematically appropriate element. By swapping out our gear from balanced gear that does good overall for gear with high resistance to that specific element, we can greatly reduce the damage we take. For example, compared with the standard overall best gear with 60 all resist, equipping this set of poison resist gear with 92 total poison resist means we only take about 1/5 the damage from Envy. With Poison Resist stack plus 200 Charisma Offense Dragon, we're able to barely kill Envy before his damage ramps up and he kills us. Use your plus health skill to reduce his healing and speed up the process. Next up is Greed. His mechanic is that, being greedy, he will copy any buffs you have on you. So we simply won't be buffing ourselves during the fight. As his damage doesn't ramp up and he doesn't heal, our energy resist stack plus 200 Charisma Offense Dragon strategy makes this fight relatively straightforward. The next of the Corrupted Seven is Gluttony. He will periodically devour your buffs and potions, and if you run out of buffs and potions to feed him, he will enrage and heal a lot while doing massive amounts of damage. Thankfully, DragonRogue has a ton of basically useless buffs to feed him. Feed him your pitiful plus 20 bonus buff in the final turn of your crappy shield while stacking wind resist to survive. Then use your plus health resist skill to reduce his healing and kill him with your dragon. Lust is a little trickier than the previous spirits. Thankfully, her main mechanic is easy to get around. Each time you inflict direct damage to her, you take 50% of the damage dealt. But since DragonRogue has low direct damage anyway, you don't take much. The real problem with Lust is her love taps, which inflict -100 fire resist for 1 turn, making her desirelings do a crazy amount of damage through your fire resist. In addition, she loops 120 BPD, making it hard for your dragon to hit her. To deal with our BPD and to help with the desirelings, we have respec our dragon to 199 assist 200 fighting, 200 protection, and 1 mischief. The 200 protection lets us shield a love tap. The 1 mischief gives us a 1-turn stun, which we use to prevent desirelings from acting during the turn we have minus 100 fire. Then, 199 assist gives us a high uptime plus 99 bonus with Dragon Scout, letting us land DOTs on Lust. With some luck, Lust will also fall to 200 Charisma DragonRogue. Next up is Sloth, who is one of the more mechanically complicated of the Corrupted 7. That being said, most of their mechanics boil down to does a ton of damage and spam stuns, which we ignore with nature resistance stacking and 101 immobility resist. As usual, despite his heals, our dragon will eventually kill him with the help of 200 charisma. Wrath's gimmick is that she heals 100% of the damage she takes from all critical hits. This is usually a problem for many classes, as they rely on critical hits for much of their damage. However, this is not at all a problem for us, as Pet Dragon has almost no crit. Just stack water resist, use your plus health skill wisely, and grind her down, and she will eventually fall to the might of a 200 charisma offensive dragon. Pride is where our 200 charisma plus resistance stack strategy starts breaking down. Pride's gimmick is that she buffs herself over time. Normally, the part that's difficult to deal with is the fact that you can't damage her unless she has more buffs on herself than you have statuses, but that's not a real problem for this run. No, the first problem that Pride poses is that one of her buffs increases the number of elements she can use. Remember when I said that most of the Corrupted 7 use a single element? Well, Pride is the first exception to this rule. She starts out dealing just darkness, but over time starts dealing damage of light, fire, water, and other elements. This means that it quickly becomes impossible to resistance stack versus her. The other problem that Pride poses is that she gives herself a ton of defensive buffs. Not only does she do her own resistance stacking, she also increases her own avoidance and defense, quickly making Dragon unable to hit her. She also heals by 10% every 6 turns, making it difficult to grind her down. I tried to beat her many, many times, but came short every time. Unfortunately, the combination of these factors meant that I had no choice but to use the ultimate weapon on lore: Hamsters. Cicero's Hamstergeddon, Hamsterclism, and Hamsterocalypse are weapons that have a 5% chance on attack to give the enemy minus 100 void resistance for 49 turns. This effectively doubles your damage output, letting us kill her before she can buff herself too much or use too many elements. With RNG on your side to get an early hamster proc, a 200 assist, 200 fighting, 200 magic dragon build, and stacking darkness and light resist, DragonRogue is finally able to triumph over Pride. Finally, we reach Pandora, the progenitor of the Corrupted 7 and the final boss of this board. Not only is Pandora an immensely mechanically complicated boss, with mechanics corresponding to each of the Corrupted 7, she is seemingly designed to prevent resistance stacking. She uses 6 elements: poison, energy, wind, fire, water, and nature, corresponding to the first 6 of the Corrupted 7. In addition, attacks during her Pride phase deal null damage, which ignores the resistance mechanic entirely. It might seem that all hope is lost here. Surely, without the ability to stack resistances to reduce her damage, there's no way that DragonRogue can possibly beat Pandora, right? Well, who said you can't stack resistances versus Pandora? Since she swaps elements every 2 turns, we can just change our equipment every 2 turns to maximize resistance to the element she will use. This takes 24 inventory slots. To deal with Pride, we stack MPM or Avoidance to reduce the chance that she hits us. Normally, MPM stacking is discouraged by the fact that gear with high MPM tends to have no resistances or negative resistances, therefore increasing the damage we take from the enemy. However, as Null ignores resistance entirely, we're able to MPM stack with impunity during her Pride phase. Adding in 2 slots for shown weapons, our strategy requires a solid 32 inventory slots in total. With this gross, swap all of our equipment every 2 turns, resistance stack strategy, the standard 200 charisma fighting magic dragon, and some tight gameplay, DragonRogue is able to beat Pandora, and thus You can beat all of the corrupted 7 with DragonRogue. Thank you for watching this video. If you have ideas for videos you'd like to see, feel free to drop a comment. If you're interested in seeing the full fights, please see the linked playlist. Good luck!